Right, well, we have Hellen Dena joining us from Seoul. She's the project lead for the Pan-African Plastic Project at Greenpeace Africa. All right, Hellen, put it into context for us. Just how big is the problem of plastics right now, and what are some of the worst impacts that it's having around the world?
Thank you for having me. So you are looking at a situation where our environment is impacted, but more than that, our health is also at risk. We are talking of studies showing that, there has been microplastics found in human blood, in, placentas, in the air we breathe, in the water that we drink. And while the impacts are still, being researched, there is also a lot of health impacts that is associated with plastic pollution. But more than that, when you look at, the plastic that is already in our environment, we are talking about, our landfills, our waters and our rivers being blocked. And this plastic also ends up in the marine ecosystems. Many are the times that, marine creatures have confused plastics for food and have either gotten entangled or have consumed plastics. Some of these, marine creatures will end up on our table. So this is not just environmental crisis, but also a health crisis that we're dealing with.
It is indeed a frightening and terrible situation. Let's talk about this summit now. What kind of agreement do negotiators want to try to reach, and how might it be actually implemented and then enforced?
So we're looking at an ambitious global plastic treaty, one that will be legally binding, but ultimately one that will cut plastic production. So at the moment, what countries are coming together is to negotiate for a treaty or an instrument that will not only deal with waste, but also look at, the upstream measures, and that is cutting plastic production, because that is the source of this problem. And so after the treaty is agreed, and hopefully that will be agreed in Busan, then we can look at how now countries, sign and ratify that, and also now are starting to bring that into implementation. Because as we are going, or as the world, is progressing, if we continue with production, then we are not going to solve this crisis. This crisis can only be solved when we cut plastic production, and this is at the source.
I mean, the trouble is, Hellen, we've just had COP, and I think it's fair to say there was a lot of disappointment about the outcome of that summit. Is this just going to be another series of meetings and discussions, and then the outcome at the end of it is going to disappoint people? Is there that risk that happens yet again here, that there just isn't the political will to really tackle this?
Our hope is that, member states and countries are going to look beyond their national interest and negotiate in good faith. Like you put it, COP was COP29 was such a disappointment. We are hoping that, governments will come together, governments will have good political will to actually look at this beyond their business interest. Today was, the beginning of INC5, and we have seen a few, oil producers trying to delay the process. But for us as CSOs, and we want to urge the government that this should go beyond their national interests. This should go beyond their, business interests, because this is about, our health. This is about our communities. This is about the rights of, a lot of frontline communities who are impacted by plastic pollution and this crisis for many generations. And this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity for us to curb this crisis. And it is up to them. The world is watching. We are watching. All the eyes are on them for them to come out of Busan with a strong and legally binding instrument.
As you say, Hellen Dena, the world is watching. Thank you for your time and for joining us on the NewsHour.